Hey guys, and welcome to the first lesson of the section. This is the productivity key concepts and principles. There are three types of time use. They are wasting time, spending time, and investing time. We're going to look at all three of these, and you're going to see examples for each of them. And this will help you to identify maybe some of the ways that you use time in your own day. So let's jump right into it. The first one is wasting time. This is where you do things like constantly checking emails, checking up on social media and watching YouTube videos, that sort of thing, taking excessive breaks, procrastination and putting things off. Procrastination is quite an important topic, and it's something we will look at in a later lesson. The important thing with all of these is to identify some of them that maybe you do in your ordinary day, and once they've been identified, the next job is to try and reduce them and ultimately eliminate them. So let's look at the next time use. That is spending time. One of the top ones here is lack of prioritization. If you don't have a clear direction of the task that you want to accomplish for today, or any day, your day will be dictated by everything else that comes your way. So emails that come in, maybe phone calls, maybe co-workers come in, any number of distractions will then dictate your day if you don't have your priorities in order. Unnecessary meetings. This is something that I've been exposed to as well. A lot of the time, meetings don't require all team members to be there. Sure, if you're a key stakeholder and maybe you are an important part of the project, then you would need to be there, of course. However, it's not always the case. So being firm and protecting your time by letting colleagues and teammates know that you would prefer to get the minutes of the meeting, a summary of it instead of attending the meeting because you have other priorities, is perfectly acceptable, and it's a good use of time and making your time a priority. The next one is allowing email to dictate your day. This is where you're in a constant loop where a new email comes in, you action it, and it just distracts you from the important tasks that need to be done. And as you know, there's never going to be an end to the amount of emails coming in. So email should become a secondary task, and your most important task should be the priority. Over-planning and excessive research. This is something that I need to watch myself. I generally tend to over-plan and try and get things perfect when it's not really necessary. Good is good enough, and a lot of the time, the extra planning and the extra perfectionism that we strive for, it really goes unnoticed. So it's not as if the extra effort is seen and noticed. Sure, there's a level that you need to reach, but anything over and above that is excessive. So that's one thing to look out for. And then the final one is investing time. So this is the most important way to spend your time and the best way to spend your time. These would be things like creating your MIT list, which stands for most important tasks, and starting with 20% of those tasks that are going to yield the best results. So for example, let's say you had a list of 10 tasks that you needed to perform that day. You would look at the most important 20%, the ones that are going to drive performance or get you closer to a deadline or get you closer to a deliverable. Those are the ones you start with first. So you're able to get the most important ones done first before all of the day's distractions and other things come flying at you. So that's a key one to look at. Creating systems and automations. This is very important. A lot of the time we get stuck in a rut and a loop where we just do things because it's how we've always done it before. So instead of thinking, how could I optimize this? How could I create a template or an automation or an SOP, which stands for Standard Operating Procedure, to make this more effective and to reduce the amount of time I need to do it in future? Those are things you need to think about. So repetitive tasks, things that you need to do maybe more than 2 or 3 times. Look at how you can create a system or an automation to do that in future. Yes, it's going to take more time up front, but that time is invested because it's going to save time in the long run. So that's a key concept to consider. And then create a don't do list. This is a very effective one. So a don't do list would be a lot of things from your wasting time list. So you would say, don't check your emails constantly. Don't spend excessive time on social media or watching YouTube videos. Don't procrastinate. Don't take excessive breaks, things like that. These just help remind you that you're not going to be doing these things during the day, and it'll just help your mind focus on the important things and the things that you will be doing. So that is it for the 3 types of time use. I hope that you can see how each of them is very different and how you want to be looking at investing time and creating automations and systems to be able to reduce time needed to do certain things in the future, and also to focus on your most important tasks. Those are key. So that's it for this lesson, and I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another lesson. I'm very excited to bring this lesson to you. We are going to be talking about the Pareto principle, which is also known as the 80-20 rule. This is probably one of the most important principles and concepts in productivity, as well as using it in your professional life and even personal life. So how this came about, there was a economist and a sociologist. He was called Vilfredo Pareto. He was based in Italy, and what he noticed is that there was 80% of the wealth was owned by 20% of the population. And as he investigated further and looked into other industries and areas, he could see that the same principle applied. And what this means in terms of productivity is that 80% of your results will come from 20% of your efforts. And this is a huge principle to grasp, and it's an important one because it allows us to focus on the 20% that are going to give us the best results. This concept can not only be used in productivity, it can also be used in your personal life and even your professional life. So to give an example, my background is in e-commerce. I've been running e-commerce stores for the last 20 years. And one of the things I noticed, and this is where the principle applies, is that 20% of any products sold on an e-commerce store are going to drive 80% of the revenue. So these would be your best sellers, things like that. But having a look at all of the products that you have available, there's going to be around 20% that are going to be driving 80% of your revenue. So what that means is that I would double down on those 20% of products. That's where I would focus my efforts. I would ensure that the pricing is optimized. I'm getting the best prices from the suppliers. I'm offering the best prices to the customers, which would accelerate the amount of orders that would be received for those products. I ensured that the logistics was optimized so that there was a steady flow of products coming in and they were always in stock. I promoted these products heavily because they would convert much better than the other products. And lastly, I ensured that the PDPs, which are the product details pages, were very, very optimized for conversion. So they had all of the information. I would do A/B split tests to see which would perform better, making subtle changes to headlines, to bullet lists, to paragraphs, to wording, to tonality, all of that, to get to that final product description that was working. So all of these elements I was able to improve and optimize, but without this Pareto principle, I wouldn't know which products to look at and focus all of my efforts on. So that's where it's a good idea to take stock of everything that's going on in your life, or that can be personal or business, and just to break down and see which are the 20% that are driving 80% of the results, and double down on those. Why is the 80-20 rule so important? So it helps you to set the right priorities and rank them by importance. It helps you to focus on activities that will have the biggest impact on your goals and productivity. And another important one is it helps you determine a ratio of effort versus effectiveness to know what will take the least time but deliver the greatest results. So this becomes especially helpful when you know the 20% that you want to work with in a given day. And those can be productivity tasks or anything else. What's even better is if you're able to know how long each of those will take. So each of those tasks, you could then determine that the quickest one is going to be the highest priority, and already there, because it's part of the 20%, and because it's the quickest, that is going to be the most effective one to start with. And the most important thing is starting, getting some momentum, and if you're able to get to the quickest one, the quickest task that can be completed, but it's also the most important, bingo, it's a double win. So that is some of the most important aspects of the 80-20 rule. So which task gets done first? This is where you are looking at all of the tasks that you would have in a given day, and you would pick them out and see which are going to generate the most results, which are going to drive performance and get you closer to the end goal. Those then become your MITs, which are your most important task, and those should be done first before anything else. Those should be prioritized right up front before even looking at anything else. So how would that look? Let's have a look at a task list example and try to 80-20 the list of items. So we have here respond to emails, attend meetings, write a report, conduct research, organize files, plan tomorrow's schedule, social media updates, and customer follow-ups. So looking at this list to try and get to the 20% that would yield the most results, we are looking at conduct research, which is 2 hours, then write a report, which is 3 hours, and then customer follow-ups, which is 1 hour. So conducting research, this is a very important step with any project or any business task. Research is important because you need to know that your efforts are going to pay dividends down the line. So if you don't do the research, you might be putting an effort that might yield nothing. So having the correct research, knowing that your efforts are going to be rewarded, is an important first step. So that's why this would be one of the MITs in this list. Next one is writing a report. This would be needed for somebody else to be able to do the task that they need to do. A report gives valuable feedback. A report also gives information for other stakeholders or even yourself to be able to progress further, things like that. And customer follow-ups If you're in a customer-based business, it's important to get the feedback to improve customer service and improve the products. So this is an important one to have on the list. And all of these tasks were chosen because they generate crucial deliverables, they provide essential information, and they enhance client satisfaction. So here is a top tip. The key to success is not doing more, it is doing more of what matters. And I think that summarizes the 80-20 rule very nicely. So that is a good one to look at. And that is it for this lesson. I'd love for you to have a look at your professional life or your personal life and just see where are the 80-20 rules applying. Where are you seeing the 20% that is yielding the 80% of results? And how could you squeeze out more to get more out of those 20%? Because those are the items and the tasks and the areas that you need to focus on. So that's it for this lesson. I'll catch you in the next one. Hey guys, and welcome back to another lesson. We're going to be looking at Parkinson's law, and this is the notion that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So what that means is if you give a 2-hour task 1 week to complete, it's going to take you a week. So the key to using Parkinson's law to your advantage is to set tighter deadlines, to gauge how long something would take and reduce the amount of time that you give for that thing. This will ensure that you're doing more with the time available, and it's going to mean that you complete tasks a lot quicker than you did ordinarily. For example, instead of allocating 3 hours for a report or writing an article or a social media post or something to that effect, give yourself 2 hours and see what can be accomplished. You'll be amazed at how your brain and all of your resources come together and you get into a state of focus to be able to complete the task. So give that a try and see how it goes for you. So to see Parkinson's law at play, here we have a report or a diagram showing the amount of time allocated to a task that's running on the x-axis, and the amount of effort required for the task and the amount of effort given towards the task to complete it, and that is on the y-axis. So as you can see, if you give 2 hours to a task, the effort is greatly increased and you're working at maximum capacity for those 2 hours. If you give yourself 3 hours, there's a bit more of an ease. There's not such a high peak in the effort, and things are a bit stretched out. Then if you gave yourself 8 hours, of course, that is a lot easier. There is not as much intensity with the effort, but as you can see, it is stretched out over a longer period. Now, this is to say that the same amount of work can be completed in all of these time frames. It's just up to you how quickly you need to get it done. And this is why knowing Parkinson's law and using it to your advantage is the key here. So how do you use it to your advantage? Well, again, here the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, comes into play because you would aim to use the time you have for the 20% of tasks that matter most. So even in this Parkinson's law situation, you would still opt for the most important tasks to carry out those. Always set deadlines. This is crucial. If you go into something not setting the amount of time that you want to complete it in. It'll take as long as you give it. So if you're setting tighter deadlines, say a 5-hour task, you're only giving yourself 3 hours, there is a very high probability that if you're focused and there's no distractions, that you would complete that in the 3 hours. So you'd be able to save yourself 2 hours, which could be allocated to other tasks or something like that. Then last, have a look at the non-negotiables for the project or task. This would include things like deadlines or budget, things like that. It's important to know what these are, the constraints and the limitations around the project or task, because you can then better plan your time and make sure that you are allocating enough time for that, and you're able to, if there's deadlines for milestones, you're able to hit them. If there's constraints with budget, you're able to work your hours around those limitations. So that's something to keep in mind. So here we have a quick insight, and this says the more time you have, the more time you waste, which is very applicable to Parkinson's law. So with that, I want to encourage you to have a look at how long you're taking to do some of the tasks that you've done in the past, and see how you could slash those deadlines and reduce the amount of time that you spend on them. If you need to time yourself because you're unsure how long things are going to take, it's always a good practice. And the more you time yourself, the more you'll be able to gauge how long something will take, and you'll be able to set realistic deadlines and manage expectations for yourself as well as maybe stakeholders or clients. So that is a key consideration. That's it for this lesson. I hope there was some valuable nuggets of information, and the Parkinson's law is a really good one to keep in mind. And I hope you're able to use it and set tighter deadlines for yourself in future. That's it for this lesson. I'll catch you in the next one. Hey there, and welcome to this lesson on time blocking. Time blocking is a really effective method to block out your calendar for specific tasks. So this allows you to take a focused and productive approach to your daily schedule. So the time blocking method has a lot of benefits. It allows you to dedicate time slots, which means enhanced focus and concentration. You're able to have those deep work sessions, which ensures that you get your best work done. It improves productivity by reducing distractions, so you're able to dial in and deal with the tasks that are dedicated to that time slot. It's better for time management in general, as it ensures that all of the important tasks, they get carried out and they have their own time slot. It reduces procrastination, so because you have a structured schedule, you are less likely to be distracted or have idle time where you're not being productive. And lastly, it's incredibly effective for meetings, as it shows your availability in the time slots where you have meetings laid out. That is when teammates and co-workers and other people are able to book meetings with you. So how would that work? How do we actually create this time blocking schedule? So the step one is to identify the tasks that need to be carried out for a given day. Then once you have those tasks, you would estimate the time needed for each of them. And thereafter, you're able to block out the slots for those tasks in your day. Then the next step would be to stick to that schedule and treat it like a non-negotiable appointment you have for yourself. So each of these slots, you would then make sure that you're carrying out those tasks. And when it comes to meetings, it's dependent on you if you would like to have one slot available, or 2 slots, or 3 or more. It's just really up to you and your workflow. But what would then happen is, if you didn't have anybody that booked a meeting with you, you would either carry on the task from the previous slot where you had a task slot, for example, or you would then begin the task from the next task slot. And that, in a nutshell, is how the time blocking method works. It's a great way to map out your schedule, but also allow time and availability for people to request meetings. So with that, it's the end of the lesson, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Welcome back to another lesson. Starting is one of the more challenging tasks. The trick is to do it early and do it quickly. The more momentum you build early on, the more chance of success later down the line. And just getting started, it becomes much easier to keep going. So when is the best time to start? You probably guessed it, it's now. So set your intention to start. This could be for a project or anything that you've been planning to do. Set the intention to start and stick to it at all costs. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because it rarely comes. The plan does not need to be perfect, it just needs to be started and put into action. The start is more about taking that first step than having everything perfectly laid out. The more you just start, the better you will become at it, and also the quality of work will improve, and additionally, it's going to get easier each and every time. So that's it for this lesson. To summarize everything, you are wanting to start. That is the most important part of this process. You set the intention to start and you stick to it. Once you begin the process, it becomes easier to manage, and you develop a skill for starting and actually completing tasks. So I hope that was useful, and that's it for this lesson. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye. Hi there, and welcome to a new lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about templates, work guides, standard operating procedures. There is an important acronym that I want you to remember, and that is to always stay dry. And dry stands for don't repeat yourself. And that's where these templates and work guides are most effective, as this will mean that you no longer have to do repetitive work. So why would you want to use templates and SOPs and work guides? Well, it helps you to avoid wasting time and effort on these type of tasks, so repetitive tasks. It allows you to focus on higher level creativity and thinking. So you're able to offload the thinking that's needed for those tasks and free your brain up for more important tasks. And lastly, it helps to reduce errors caused by manual work and also to standardize your work. With templates, everything becomes a standardized format. So that is a really important aspect of it. In the next video, we're going to be looking at examples of all of these templates and SOPs and work guides. And you'll be able to see how they work in the real world and how you can apply them too as well. So let's take a look at them. Now I'll show you some examples of the templates and SOPs that I've created. First up is my Anatomy of Content Bible. This is my guide and checklist when creating articles for my website. It ensures every piece of content is thorough, well structured, and optimized for SEO. Next, we have my SEO Trello checklist. This checklist helps ensure all the on-page and technical SEO issues of my website are sorted out, keeping it in top shape for the search engines. So as you can see here, it has a number of lists, and in each list there is a card. This represents the tasks, and the status is added as a label. And what I would do is basically through each list go down all of the cards and complete them one by one. I'm able to add more detailed descriptions in here, any other information, tag people that I need to alert, that sort of thing. So the steps would be going through each list, going through each card, and then at the end of it, that would have the project completed. Next up is an e-commerce Pro checklist, and this is a conversion rate and optimization checklist for auditing the performance of a website. It covers everything from user experience to loading times and just ensures that an e-commerce website runs smoothly. Next up, here is an email funnel that has been created in Miro, and this looks at the life cycle of a buyer's journey. So when they're placing an order, all of the steps that they follow to placing an order. It has the purchase stage where there is conditional statements. When they place the order, they're then put into an email series where they then follow the series in a sequence. There's also mentions for when they should be waiting before the next email is sent. There's also some notes where tags are added to the contacts so that we're able to understand what they've done and what's been completed. There's also an abandoned cart flow. This is where we potentially lose them as a customer, and this flow just keeps them in the email series where we try and bring them back and get them to come back and place the order on the website. So as you can see, here is also where the templates for each of the emails that we send in a series can be seen. And then lastly, the final stage in the purchase cycle if they need to return or exchange a order. So this is just a great way to visualize an email series at each stage of the buyer's journey, and it's just a visual diagram and workflow of all of the steps that are needed for that. Next is a Notion templates as a company hub. This is a wiki-style hub for a company, or it could even be used as a project. And it's just a central place to keep all of your documents and policies and processes and information. It just keeps everything in a centralized place and keeps it all together and easy to access. So in each of these, you would have a different page that has all of the information for that. Next up is a master shortcuts sheet. This is something I do for every project, and what it is it has a list of all of the most commonly used files, all of the most frequently used documents, software, links to websites, links to other sheets, all of that. So everything is laid out in an easy to see and easy to find structured way, and it just really helps to get to the documents you need as fast as possible. Next is an SOP. So this is an IT work guide, and it's a simple guide for sending bugs and issue requests to developers. This was created for a client of mine, and it was shared with other team members so that they were able to know the process of how to make requests with the developers. And on the flip side, the developers would have all of the information they need to be able to handle these requests effectively. Next is another checklist, and this is for launching an e-commerce website. So it has all of the different stages and tasks and steps needed for launching a e-commerce website. And this makes sure that everything is laid out in a structured way and nothing can slip through the cracks, and you have a successful launch at the end of it. Next is a ClickUp Basics work guide. So this was shared with some team members, people that were new to ClickUp and they needed to have a quick guide to getting up to speed and learning the software. ClickUp is a really good productivity and project management tool. And as you know, it's discussed in this course. So this was a guide just to help others on the team to be able to just get up to speed and know exactly what's needed to use ClickUp effectively. Then finally, there is an email template, and this is for new suppliers. So this I used when approaching new suppliers on Alibaba. It has all of the requirements for a supplier to make sure that we are only approaching the best suppliers. So there was some preliminary steps to follow before starting with the specific questions that we would have for that supplier, and those would be laid out here. So this was an email template with all of the steps to follow when approaching a supplier. So to summarize, using templates, SOPs, and work guides can drastically improve your efficiency and consistency. They allow you to focus on what truly matters and reduce errors in your workflow. And as a special freebie, I've included thousands of free templates and documents for you to download. You'll find them in the resources section of this lesson. So make sure to check them out and download all of these templates and guides. And I really hope that they can help you to improve your productivity and just really boost your workflows and help you to be more streamlined. So that's it for this lesson on productivity strategies and techniques. Keep being productive, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye. Now that you've mastered the essentials, you're already well on your way to working smarter, not harder. But what if you could take your productivity to the next level? What if you could unlock an additional 5 hours per week using the most effective strategies, tools, and techniques available? I'd like to introduce you to my full course, Time Management Hacks, Unlock 5 Hours of Extra Productivity. You'll learn how to structure your day for maximum impact using methods like the 80-20 rule, Pareto principle, and also time blocking methods. You're going to learn about advanced email management, how to get your email to inbox 0 at the end of the day. I also teach you how to leverage cutting-edge AI tools. You're going to learn how to squeeze the most out of ChatGPT and Gemini. Plus, we're going to dive into some task management tools and see how I use them and how you can squeeze the most out of them. One of my favorites is the tool called ClickUp, and you're going to see just how to use the more advanced features to get the most out of your task list. We're also going to have a look at Phrase Express, which is an incredibly useful text expander, and this one is going to be sure to save you plenty of time, up to 2 to 3 hours per week right off the bat. And that is one of my favorite tools. So if you're ready to take your productivity to the next level, as well as learn to use AI effectively and more productively, then sign up for the course today and let's take your productivity to the next level and unlock that 5 hour advantage.